Well, welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us for what I hope will be a very rich and informative dialogue on something that we know so many organizations are struggling with right now, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a corporate organization, a business, and that is taking your big in-person events virtual. I am Naomi Binkley. I'm with Fireside Production. We're a video production company based here in Colorado, and let me start first by saying, on behalf of the Fireside team, on behalf of our wonderful panelists today, that we hope that you, your families are strong, that you're safe, and that knowing the many ways that this pandemic is impacting our families, our individual lives, our businesses, our economy, that you're weathering through, and that today will help to give you some peace of mind because we've gathered some exceptional experts to talk about what we're finding as a big pain point across our community. Let me introduce, who needs no introduction, of course, but Reggie Rivers, who is the founder and president of the Gala team. He's also a former Denver Broncos running back. You can see his wonderful man cave there. Thanks, Reggie.
Hey, thank you, Naomi. It's a pleasure to be here.
And of course, Robin Burns, who is the Director of Marketing and Communications for Habitat of Metro Denver. And Robin, I would love to start with you first, if you don't mind. First, for someone who doesn't know, introduce us to the work and mission of Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver.
Sure. So Habitat for Humanity is a housing organization. We build and preserve affordable housing for low-income families. So we build new homes. Something a lot of people don't realize is we're also the mortgage lender. And in addition to that, we repair existing homes that are in need of updates like new siding, accessibility features for homeowners who've been in them for a long time and are struggling to get up and down the stairs. And we are one of the first Habitat chapters in the country. We are celebrating our 41st anniversary this year.
And we're really seeing it. I know, right, Reggie? I think we're really seeing now more than ever how important home is. And Heather Lafferty, during her speeches for your virtual breakfast, spoke so eloquently about the homes now being our places of worship and education and entertainment. And so your role right now is so critical. I would love to address, we're getting phone calls from people who are in a state of angst or panic about the thought of their events being forced to go from in-person, these events that we have kind of gotten down to a science, right? To pivot them to online. As a nonprofit yourself, what were those first few moments like for you, and what steps did you take to get started?
Sure. Well, I can certainly empathize with other organizations who are trying to figure out what do we do now that we can't have an in-person event. Our event, just to give a little context, was originally scheduled for April 22nd. It was our annual Breakfast for Humanity. It's our largest fundraiser of the year. We've been doing it for 16 or 17 years, so kind of have it down to a science. We usually have between 600 and 700 people attend, and we raise about $300,000. So it's a really critical event for us. At the beginning of the year, planning was going great. We were all ready to go. And then, as we all know, COVID hit in March. I'd say those early weeks, we were still staying cautiously optimistic that, things will settle down. We'll be able to have our event as planned. And as things evolved, as they did very quickly and still are, I'd say by the end of March, it was readily apparent that we were not going to be hosting an in-person event. So that's when we were not panicking, but trying to figure out what are our options. Do we cancel? Do we postpone in the hopes that we can have it in person later? Do we go virtual? Kind of what do we do?
And that's when we got to help to come alongside you and talk about video components, which ultimately became a critical piece of your event. Reggie, introduce us to the work and mission of the Gala team, and let's talk about how you have successfully managed, as an organization known for these extraordinary in-person events, to help companies, nonprofits pivot and make their events virtual.
Sure. So we're the Gala team, and now we call ourselves the virtual Gala team for obvious reasons. I started the company in 2013, and it was just me, and did 6 auction events that year. The next year we grew to 29. The year after that was 53. The year after that was 70 something. And last year we did 118 fundraising events with 6 auctioneers. And this is like Robin said, our spring was going along just like normal. On March 12th, we learned that our March 13th and March 14th events were getting canceled, and that was devastating for those organizations. They just didn't have any time to pivot to do something else. And we immediately looked on our calendar and we said, well, we have 34 more clients between now and the end of May. What are they going to do? And we felt it was our responsibility as their fundraising partner to come up with a solution. And so we created the virtual gala team. We launched a website on March 18th. And just a month later, on April 17th, we did our first virtual gala with Denver Academy. And it went great. They raised more money than they did in their previous in-person event. The next night, we did another event. I can't remember our second charity, but and that went great. And then a few nights later, we did a third one, and that went great. We've now done about 12 or 13. We have 36 total virtual galas on our calendar for this year. But we've been pleasantly surprised to discover that your donors still care about your mission. They still care about the work you do. And most of your donors are still employed. Even though unemployment is very high, most people are still working from home, and they're interested. How can we help you? What is it that you need? And how can we help you? And the response has been really encouraging.
For people who are joining us, we do have the Q&A function enabled, and we want to make this discussion as lively as possible and engaging and informative for you. So please, if you have questions, do use the Q&A, and I can answer questions and then relate them to Reggie and Robin. Reggie, you know, we get a lot of questions from people who are just beginning this phase, and they want to know what platform, what length, where do I get started? How do I host this?
Right. Yeah. And those are the natural starting points. And what we've decided is we do all of our events on Zoom, and many push to Facebook Live, but we're starting with Zoom. And the reason for that is that Zoom is an elephant in the industry. There are a lot of other platforms out there. StreamYard is one of them. So dynamic, so capable, but it's a donkey. It's very nimble. You can go a lot of places, and the donkey can get hurt easier. It seems more stable to be on the elephant. And so that's why we have recommended Zoom. And then as far as length goes, we keep saying, ask us after 100 events. We'll really know some answers. But until then, we're kind of leaning on what is it that we know. We all grew up as television natives. Television shows come in 2 lengths, 30 minutes and an hour. Sometimes there's a 2-hour finale, but 30 minutes and an hour. And so leaning on that, we've basically been advising our clients, aim for 30 minutes to 45 minutes, because there's so many things competing with the attention. It's just hard to hold everyone's attention for too long.
I think that bears a great point when it comes to video as well, because we get a lot of questions about the ideal length of video. And typically for an event that's in person, you can get away, I would say, with a longer length, because people are sitting there, they're engaged, they're invested in your event. They want to be at the breakfast. They want that mission moment, right, Robin, to see the families who are impacted. And so generally we would say, you know, a 3 to 4 minute video, or maybe we have something even longer that we can section down into shorter pieces for social media after. This has definitely changed the ball game, because much of the virtual experience is video. And so I think that, much as you said, Reggie, we're collecting data on best practices and whatnot. And I think that we'll see what works best moving forward. Robin, what did you ultimately end up doing, and what did your event look like?
Sure. So initially we postponed the event for 2 months just to give ourselves some time to shift and pivot and figure out what we were going to do, and also see what the world was going to look like 2 months from now. Could we possibly have it in person? We kind of quickly scratched that option off. So we postponed it till the end of June. We went completely virtual, and we really we went back and forth on, do we do live components along with pre-recorded video? Do we do all pre-recorded? We knew we had to shorten it. Our in-person event is 1 hour. We know with the attention span of people watching video online now, I think Facebook counts a view as 3 seconds. So how do we get people to tune in and stay tuned in? So we wanted to do 30 minutes or less. I think our final video was around 23 or 24. But since we'd never done this before, one thing we wanted to try and do was eliminate as many technology risks as possible. So we decided to go with the fully pre-recorded format, but we wanted to have some sort of element where everyone was watching it together. So we did broadcast it live from our event webpage. We had a countdown starting an hour beforehand. And that allowed us to brand it. We had donate buttons above and below the video. We had a chat box for people who wanted to comment or ask questions. And for us anyways, for a first time virtual, it helped us kind of feel like we had some control. But when we did realize we wanted to do a full video, that's when I reached out to Fireside Production. And I'll never forget that first call I had with Emily over at Fireside. It was like, we've never done this before. Here's our idea. We're kind of looking at 30 minutes. How do we do this? And so it was a great collaborative process, and great to work with one company as well that helped us keep, because we had multiple speakers, we had some other videos, and keep everything kind of cohesive and flowing. And also great recommendations again from the attention span perspective of, trying to keep segments ideally at 3 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, just to keep things flowing.
You did a masterful job of pulling all of those pieces together, and thank you for your trust in Fireside Production. Emily, I'm giving her a heart right now. This is my new love sign with the Fireside team. But what we ended up doing was a number of recorded sessions with Heather Lafferty, who is the CEO and president. Hopefully I've got the title correct. And so those were teleprompter messages shot with a couple of cameras so that it was really dynamic. We folded in supporting footage. I know you had some existing video components that you wanted to use. But then, of course, we had our, what I think people commonly know as their mission moment, the wonderful family, Donna and Christopher, who are first-time homeowners and just brought such spirit that hopefully led to a generous donation push there during the event. Is that what you ended up seeing?
Yeah, we got a lot of really positive feedback we shared a variety of Habitat homeowner stories, but they were definitely kind of the featured family because they moved into their home at the end of March. So they went from living in a cramped apartment. They've got, teenagers who were trying to do remote learning, and then they got to move into their brand new home that they helped build right as COVID and sheltering in place and all of that started. So I think it was a really cool way to engage with, a story that really resonates with everyone right now because we're all staying home so much. And yes, we didn't really know what to expect from a fundraising perspective. We kept our goal the same at $300,000. The day of the event, we raised $272,000, which is, yes, fantastic. We were super excited. And we've seen checks come in since then because a lot of our donor base is just more comfortable writing a check as opposed to doing an online donation. So something that we did to knowing that a lot of our donor base had that inclination was we mailed printed invitations with remittance envelopes ahead of the event for a few hundred of the guests that we thought would probably want to do a check instead of a credit card.
And that's where a really well-rounded strategy is important. Hitting people, touching them on social media, touching them with direct mail if you need to. And that's something that you did so brilliantly and that I think is crucial for the success of a virtual event. Reggie, Robin, they took their event all recorded. And you and I've talked about doing a combination. So let's hear your thoughts on all recorded versus partially live.
Yeah, I think that both can work really well. The important thing is that you want to make your virtual gala not look like the Zoom calls that people are on every day. Like, you don't want it to look like this Zoom call. We really we're trying to aim for, how do we make this look like a television broadcast where you have your host is the only person you see on screen when he or she is talking, and then they bring other people in, and maybe you have one by one, two people talking, and then one of them goes away, and you're transitioning every 3 to 5 minutes. You're transitioning into another thing, and so I think whether you do that as a completely all pre-recorded video, I think that can be fine. I think there is something to the live element that There's a reason that we have live events in ballrooms. We could do all of our fundraising without getting people together. There is some power to that, that in the moment that something is live, people recognize that it's live. The communication is a two-way communication because it's live rather than completely pre-recorded. But I'm a big fan of video because of the emotional range that video adds to your events. And we've always been pushing for like the mission moment right before you do your paddle raiser. When it's a 3-minute video, you have music, you have editing, timing, cherry picked quotes that are at exactly the right moment, and the impact can be felt so greatly, and you just have a lot more control over what that experience is, as opposed to having a person presenting live on the stage with, you don't always know what people are going to deliver in that moment. And so we're big fans of video, and I would be a fan of doing as much of the event in video as you can, but keep a live element to it to keep that spark there.
Thank you for talking about the power of video. I think that there is, to me, obviously I'm a strong proponent of it, but no more powerful way to engage the heart, to make people laugh, to make them feel something, to make them champion your brand or donate to your organization. I also think that in these cases, video has a powerful role to play with sponsor recognition. You can use teleprompter scripted messages to have your sponsor videos a certain length so that they're manageable and they still get the recognition that they deserve during your virtual events, or your MC, or your, maybe not you, Reggie, you'd be live, but there's so many ways that we can use video. And outtakes, I think pacing is a really important thing as well, to make sure that you're engaging people in different ways and they're going through this roller coaster or orchestra of emotions throughout the experience. I do have a couple of questions that are coming in.
And before you go to that, Navy, can I make one comment? I worked in the TV business for a long time at CBS4, and we did a lot of recording that we called as live, where we would shoot something in advance, but we would record it as live. We would speak as if we were live. We would reference time as if we're live. And the audience never knew that we weren't live. They didn't know that our sports extra show at 11 or at 10:30 p.m. was recorded at 4 in the afternoon. They didn't know that. They don't know that the Jimmy Fallon show is recorded. They don't know that Stephen Colbert is recorded. It feels live. And I think that if you shoot it as live, it's the same as being live.
Yeah, that's really what you did, Robin, with Heather. Heather greeted everyone with a good morning. Thank you for joining us for our first ever virtual Breakfast for Humanity. And she did a really wonderful job of bringing that energy. Katie's wondering if there's a place to see the Habitat for Humanity event as an example. I will say that you've generously allowed us to post it on the Fireside page. We've got a link at the top that it says virtual online events. If you click on that, you can see it minus anything that was produced by an outside entity. So you can see that and some other examples of virtual videos and virtual online type things that we're working on. Jim, who is with Metro Caring, he said that he agrees on the impact of video. Nobody does it better than Fireside, and I'll just take that. Thank you so much. Kate Bishop has a question for you, Reggie. Do you have a recommendation on the ideal split between video and live content, assuming an hour-long event?
I don't have I can give you what my opinion is, but again, at somewhere around 100 events, I'll feel really confident that this is a true best practice. I think if you had an hour-long event and you shoot it all as live, the whole thing can be recorded. If you want to keep a live element, maybe 15 minutes of it is live and 45 minutes is recorded, and you're pivoting back and forth. You're coming to your live element and you're pitching to another recorded element, but you're pitching in a way that doesn't feel like it's recorded, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think too, with much like any technology and video, when we started in 2006, the typical length of a video that we recommended was 5 to 7 minutes. And we had, there was some sort of a recipe out there where people would come to us and say, we want a 5 to 7 minute video with 3 cries in it. And so there was this recipe, and we can never guarantee that someone's going to cry 3 times, but we can say that we're going to touch the heart, inspire, motivate, make you laugh, make you feel something. And now all these years later, video is 1 to 2 minutes, or on social, it's 20 seconds. And so I do think that as we are making these changes and moving toward virtual events, and I don't see this being something that's going to change anytime soon with how the current state of the pandemic is, that we'll be collecting more of those data points to be able to make more informed recommendations in terms of length and the right balance. But I would say for now, to complement both your experience, Robin, and yours, Reggie, is fear not technology. I think that is something that people really are nervous of like, what happens if there's a technology issue? And well, you know, things happen at live events as well. I always say that Fireside can deliver the baby, we can deliver the video, but it's up to the venue to play it seamlessly or to make sure microphones are working for the MCs. And so fear not the technology. Go ahead and make the move to do a virtual event. It is better than canceling, for sure. Reggie, any thoughts on ways to really keep things creative? And you have such a wonderful spirit in person. I mean, I've seen you at countless events, and you raise so much money for organizations alongside, you know, the organizations that are doing the hard work. You help them to get there. But how do you make it engaging? What are you seeing from nonprofits who are making it less of a, I'm just giving you this information, and more of a get involved and be a part of this?
Yeah, I think that one of the positions that we've discovered is vital is the position of chat promoter. And so that you have a person who, like, I think Kristen is doing it on this call, but you have a couple of people whose sole job is to greet people and engage with them in the chat, to welcome people as they arrive. Hey, Walter and family, great to see you. Hey, Jennifer and Steve, great. So glad you guys have joined. And just creating that kind of conversation in the chat and encouraging people to weigh in and let you know what's going on. One of the things about a live event in person that we forget about sometimes, what's the entertainment value? We think, oh, well, we're going to do this on the stage and this video and we're going to have this performance later. But there's also the entertainment of the people just interacting with each other in the cocktail hour, at their table. And that you lose that part when you're doing a virtual gala. And so I think your chat promoter is a big opportunity to just engage people, having little conversations as you're going along.
I've seen some really great things too from organizations that are using their social. You know, take photos and show me in your gala attire for our big gala. Tag us, give us your mission moment. Tell me why you support. So I think that you can use social media in so many ways too to keep it lively with your chat promoter. But show your pictures, share, tag us. Really to make sure that you're getting that robust experience and keeping people engaged and whatnot. We've got a couple of questions for you, Robin. Did you just host the video on your website and hit play, or did you stream it? And that's coming from Colleen Skates and Betsy Schuyler. Colleen with Bootstraps, an organization I love.
We did a lot of research, actually, and we initially thought we wanted to use YouTube as the platform and embed it on our webpage. And there's probably a way to do this. We could not figure out a way to play the video on YouTube without having other ads pop up, and we wanted it to be all about us. So we ended up purchasing a subscription to Vimeo, which has a lot of similar capabilities. So we were able to embed the video on our website, but it wasn't like streaming off of our website's whatever power, if you will. It was using Vimeo's bandwidth to do that. And Vimeo, that also allowed us to schedule it as a broadcast as opposed to like someone coming, you know, ahead of time and watching it 30 minutes. So we really wanted to have that we're all watching this together type feel. And what was nice about that too is there was a ticker on it, so you could actually see how many people were actively watching at the same time. Vimeo also had a chat box or a comment section area too. So that was the platform we ended up going with.
Do you have a place where that is living right now? Because what we have on the Fireside website is sort of just the broken down, but do you have the encapsulated virtual experience on the Vimeo page?
We do. It's actually still on our event page. So if you go to habitatbreakfast.org, that'll direct you to our event page. So you can kind of see how we branded it with the donate buttons and sponsor recognition, which of course is really important. And then the video is above the fold. So it should be pretty easy to find. And after it broadcasts, people can go back and watch it at their leisure.
I wanted to ask Robin a question. So that habitatbreakfast.org, you said? And so the video, the Vimeo video has the Vimeo chat on your page there as well?
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. We had to embed it separately. It was, something we added, but we wanted to have that interaction. I will say, it's not quite as easy to use as like the YouTube comment feature is. You have to either log into it or log in as a guest to even see it. So I think we would probably do something different next time for that comment area. But, we've also heard from other live events or, broadcast events on YouTube that sometimes the comment box, if it's very active, can be a little distracting. So I think there's kind of both sides of it.
The token there. Yeah, absolutely. And as a video production company, we do get questions frequently, and this is not really related to the virtual events, but where do we host our videos? And I am a big fan of YouTube personally because of that rich search engine optimization, and people are familiar, but we have yet to find a way. We continually try to keep other options from popping up. So like all the videos that are on our website are embedded from YouTube for the search engine optimization specifically. Vimeo is a great option though if you do not want those extra, possibly unrelated videos to pop up at the end as options for other people to look at. Embedding from YouTube though doesn't necessarily take you away from your website. So that's sort of just a side note and something to keep in mind, because I think as you produce your virtual events and you are able to pull out pieces like your mission moment video that maybe you have on YouTube and push it and promote it from there, that you're able to maximize that in many different ways, which I think is important. Reggie, I got a question for you from Justin Cooper. What are the logistics behind a live auction during a paddle raise portion? What the communication might look like or sound like when it's happening so that all guests know where the bid is at? This is such an important question because we're talking about fundraising, of course.
Correct. And so in a virtual setting, there is one software company, I think called Octria, that is offering a as live option where you could literally see the bidding happening live. We're not using that. What we have done is we're not saying the word sold on camera. So what'll happen is that whether you can Give Smart or One Cause or Boulder Events or AES, that they're running the mobile bidding, and we say, hey, where do we stand on this trip to Breckenridge? Oh, we're at $1,500 right now. So then we spend some time describing the trip. We recommend that you have a short video about the item, like a 45-second video about the item, and then come back and get another update. So where are we on the price now? Oh, we're at $2,250. All right, this item will close in the next few minutes. Get your bids in. The 7-day trip to Breckenridge will close in just a few minutes. Let's move on to item number 2. And so we let it close in the background, and that gets you around the latency issue. That if you're on Facebook Live, like if you're watching this right now on Facebook Live, you're seeing it about 25 to 30 seconds after it's recording on Zoom. And so that latency really is an issue, but you can get around that by just not saying the word sold and just let it close in the background.
Great. I hope that answers that question. Any other recommendations when it comes to really the fundraising components and how to make that part successful? Because I know with the Gala team, that's really your sweet spot. That's what you guys do so well. So what else would you want people to know?
Sure. In the paddle raiser, you can't quite control exactly the pace at which the donations come in, because people can click the donate button at any time and donate any amount that they want to, but we still recognize people at the different levels, starting at 10,000 and 5,000 and 2,500. And the way we're doing that, we have a Google Doc that's open on my iPad. And if you've ever worked with a Google Doc, when one person is typing into it, everyone else can see the cursor moving and see a little flag that says, oh, Bob Smith is typing right now. and you can literally see it. And so we're able to recognize people at the various levels. Oh, we have Bob and Linda Anderson at $10,000. Thank you for your donation. And we have Mike and Debbie Smith at $10,000. Thank you for your donation. So we're able to live recognize donations as they're coming in and do that at those levels to try to encourage people to get involved at those higher levels, even though at any moment they can just click donate and decide on any level that they want.
That's brilliant. And you're such a great multitasker. I don't know if I could do all of that. I'm having trouble keeping up with the Q&A at the same time here. Robin, one of the wonderful things, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'd love to emphasize, is the power of the dollar coming in after the event as well. Talk a little bit about how that's continued to elevate your fundraising. And then I think you said 278,000 the day of. Your goal was 300,000. Where did we end up?
Well, as of, I think yesterday, we were at 284, but we know we have gifts that people have told us are still forthcoming. So we're really confident that we're at least going to meet, if not exceed, that $300,000, which we're really excited about, especially since we weren't sure what to expect with a virtual versus an in-person event. And I think follow-up is important. You know, there are benefits to having a video that people can watch at their own convenience. So we had, I think, over 900 people register. So we had all of their email addresses. So there was obviously the reminder email the day before and the morning of to join us live at 8 a.m. However, there's also the follow-up, like, hey, hopefully you were able to watch it. If not, you still have a chance to. And so kind of that re-engagement. We also have sent surveys. This is the first time we've done a virtual event. So we've been getting some great feedback and suggestions and ideas for, if we do this again next year or for a different event. So I think it is kind of that continual follow-up. And the other good thing was we really could broaden the net, if you will, of who we invited. Traditionally, our in-person event is a free breakfast, and we have table hosts. So people who are board members or volunteers host a table and invite their friends and family. And so it is kind of an invite only for the in-person. Sky's the limit when it's virtual. So we blasted it on social media. We sent big email blasts. We tried to spread the word far and wide, and that's where we really saw our registration numbers increase compared to the in-person.
Betsy has a question for you about that post-event survey. Any results that you can share? Did people enjoy the pre-recorded format, or perhaps were there any takeaways that you would say that another organization might benefit, knowing that you were a pioneer here and that they can benefit from your experience?
Sure. And, there's great feedback. We had people on both sides say, yes, the whole everything pre-recorded worked great. Other people were like, no, where's the live component? I could have, I woke up early to watch this video and it was just a video. So I don't think you're going to please everyone. I would say now that we have one under our belt, I don't know that we would necessarily have done it differently the first time, but if we are to do it again, our CEO, Heather Lafferty, is just an amazing public speaker. And I think that we probably would add live components, maybe even if it's just, her intro and her outro with videos in between. But I do think there is something to that element of like, it's actually happening right now.
I love that. Kate Bishop is wondering if there are additional considerations for creating video for virtual events as opposed to in-person events. Is the content generally the same, or should it shift? And that's a question for me, so I'll take that one, but feel free to join in. I would say that video plays a more robust role right now with your virtual events, in striking the balance between what's live and pre-recorded. Again, I think with sponsors, it's a great way to recognize sponsors with short scripted teleprompter messages. You keep people on time. You get them the recognition that they so well deserve. I think that having the power of the video that you might do at an in-person event anyway, which would now be online, that 3-minute-ish mission moment video or brand video is something that's powerful for whether you're in person or virtual, and it can be used online afterwards. I think there are ways to, like I said, use bloopers, use things that are just a little bit more than you would do typically for your event, to make that video experience something that people engage in, that they remember, that you can separate as an organization afterwards, because we're really big on making sure that you can maximize your video investment. So things that we can break apart, and you've got separate messages and things along those lines. I'm a big fan of video to promote an event. Obviously, we promoted this through a number of videos, and I think that that's just a really lovely way to reach people and say, join us, here's what we're going to be talking about, we are going live, and here's how you can take part. And then, of course, a thank you video after. So I think that there are a number of ways that you can use video, and we're still learning. And so we welcome the challenge of saying what's new, which we'd be thinking of that we're not thinking of. For corporate events, so we've talked a lot about nonprofit, but for corporate events, things like this Zoom panel that we're doing today, we'll post that on our website afterwards, and then we'll break it down into highlights video so that people can get some really great short takeaways. So I think even with, if you were doing a conference or something like that in person, typically we can take those events and turn them into video experiences as well, even now in our virtual environment. And one more point from a video perspective is when we first were in complete, stay-at-home mode, we had to get nimble with how we did video. And so fortunately, we keep a copy of all of Fireside clients' raw footage, and that's your footage and you use it. So we had a number of clients who were coming to us saying, we have this event coming up, what do we do? And we had footage at the ready to be able to use. But there's also stock footage, there's video and graphics driven pieces. We did Zoom interviews with people who were impacted by nonprofits and put together videos that, they look a little bit different, but I think that people understand where we are today, and that the video experience may look different, but the work and mission of our nonprofits is so important to support. And so don't cancel, do the videos, do the online events. I think that's really the key takeaway. And that if you need guidance, much like Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver or calling Reggie over at the Gala team, surround yourself with experts, because it's that dialogue that's going to get you there. Justin's got a question for you, Reggie, I think.
Can I say something real quick before we take that question? The idea of all these different recorded videos, I think that we're largely unaware of how many recorded videos we watch every day. When you're watching CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, you're watching continuous videos. I remember when I worked at CBS 4, when we did a half-hour sports show, the producer, this was back when we had Betamax tapes, and there's one tape for each little video that we're going to show. The producer would have a stack of like 22 videos that we're going to be showing in a 30-minute broadcast. Some of those videos are as short as 15 seconds, but that's the reality. When you're watching the news, it is a constant. There's constantly changing videos, and you're mostly watching things that are pre-recorded, and then you have anchors talking over them as B-roll. You're just not aware of it. And I think when you start doing that in your virtual gala, it makes the audience feel like it's a television broadcast.
Well said. Yes. And that's our background as well as television news. So, when you have the live reporter out there saying, stay home, it's freezing out here and dangerous to be on the roads, which is what I used to do. That part is live, but the piece that's in the middle of it, the nonprofit video, the mission moment, that is pre-recorded, pre-produced. And that's where we can bring in that elegance. And then for Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver, we did edit all of the individual pieces together into one seamless event. So that, I think, is a really smart point to make. Justin's question for you, Reggie. Any pushback or questioning about virtual ticket prices versus an in-person ticket price, knowing there isn't a food expense or as much of an entertainment expense? Did you deal with lowering ticket prices to take part in the virtual event?
That is a great question. I think that the fall events are really going to figure this out. The spring events had the advantage of having COVID sprung on them, that they had very little time to pivot. They had already sold all their tickets, had already sold all their sponsorships, and it was just really asking, do you want a refund or do you want to just donate your ticket price? And most people just donated it. The fall events have a different challenge. Are we going to charge to admit? And our recommendation is probably not. As Robin said earlier, your in-person event is very exclusive. It's invitation only. People show up at the door. If they're on the list, they get in. Well, now all of a sudden, you have the ability to invite everyone who's on your list, everyone who's ever made a donation to you in the past 5 years, everyone who's attended one of your galas in the past 5 years, and you broaden the audience to people who probably wouldn't be invited to your in-person gala. And so we're kind of recommending maybe you don't charge tickets and just hope that you raise the money by having more people there.
Great recommendation. ISIS is wondering, Robin, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Were you able to track who logged in from the 900 that registered? And I will say, just keeping in the spirit of time, we've got about 5 minutes left.
I don't believe so. I didn't go back to some of the Vimeo reports, but no, I think we could see the number of people who were watching at the same time, but not specifically who.
Okay. Adam is wondering, what software or set of tools do you typically use to create a production cue sheet or run of show or shot list? I don't know if that's a question for us as Fireside, or more likely Reggie, I would imagine.
It's an Excel spreadsheet, a run of show spreadsheet that kind of counts the duration of each element.
Yeah,
Software.
I'm an old-fashioned Microsoft Word girl myself, so yes. So we've got just a couple of minutes left. Robin, maybe let's start with you. Any parting words of advice for a nonprofit, a business, a corporate entity that it needs to shift to virtual?
Yeah, my advice would be keep it simple as possible, both for you on the production side. I remember when our first version of our run of show was needlessly complicated. We had all these ideas of all these videos and elements, and as we continue to move through the process, we're like, let's simplify this. Let's make it a little bit more concise. More is not more in this in this instance. So keep it simple. I would say too, I know a lot of our audience are of sometimes an older generation or a generation that is not as tech savvy as others. So keeping it as simple as possible from the user perspective as well. So for us, just hosting it, saying, go to this website at this time and it will play for you, felt very safe for a lot of our audience. I think Zoom is another platform that's becoming very universally used. So thinking about your audience too and how to make it as easy as possible for them.
Beautiful. And we only have a couple minutes left. So Reggie, I was able to preview something that you're working on rolling out, and I would love for you to talk about it. It's the step-by-step guide. Give us a little heads up. What's to come?
We've had nonprofits all over the country. We just signed, we're now consulting a group in Bulgaria on doing their virtual gala, but all over the country, they contacted us saying, can you just give us something that would allow us to do our own virtual galas? And unfortunately, we didn't have anything. Well, as of Monday, we will. We're putting together a comprehensive step-by-step guide to conduct your own virtual gala at home, and it covers everything that you need to know to get it done. You can learn more about it at our website, which is virtualgalateam.com.
It's got great information. I was thrilled to get a preview of it. I would like to thank both of you for being so generous with your time, for hopefully addressing what so many people are going through right now when it comes to pain points. I think the big takeaway is don't cancel. Come up with another way. We need fundraising dollars right now. You need brand support for your small business, your corporation, your entity, your research technology, whatever it may be. So think of ways. We've got teams of experts out there like the Gala team, like Fireside. Call upon your friends in other nonprofits for words of wisdom and advice. This will be on the Fireside Production website later today. So we'll have this full version and then a highlights video next week with some of the resources that we've mentioned today. But I would like to thank everybody, especially Reggie and Robin, for participating, and all of you who have watched for joining us. We're all in this together. Let's take a deep breath and make our virtual events a success. Thank you so much.